Hey Harmonizers, welcome to this video where I'm trying a little bit of passage while I was down in Vermont. And we are going to cover so much in this video, including how to turn negatives into positives and the power of patience, among some other things. So first, this is a little look at me figuring out some passage on a horse that had been taught how to do some passage kind of by accident. I guess he was offering to kick out because he was frustrated. And then his owner used positive reinforcement to turn it into a bit of passage. And I have ridden up before, but haven't trained passage on any of my horses before. But she offered me the opportunity to try to ride him and see if I could get a little bit more rhythm and lift happening in that passage. So I guess originally he was frustrated, and so he kind of lifted up his back legs and took some big steps like threatening to kick. And she yesed it and rewarded it, and then shaped that behavior into kind of doing that with all of his legs, and then kind of ended up with this passage type thing. And after he kind of figured out what he was supposed to do, he's actually quite easy to ask him to do it. And as he builds his strength, I'm sure it will get easier and easier for him, and he'll get even more lift. And essentially, I'm just kind of riding forward and up at the same time and just trying to add a little bit of extra lift into my body and trying to find the right time to give that yes word and offer that reward, recognizing that, this is kind of hard for him to do those little half steps. So we don't want to ask for too much at one time, just kind of little bits, and then offer that praise. So that was a lot of fun to kind of play around with that idea, kind of a neat way to teach it. And then little Miss Evelyn got to go for a ride on him, but he started to get nervous. I think just because of somebody holding onto a person on his back was a little bit weird for him. He wasn't really sure what I was doing back there. So he ended up kind of swinging his butt out to the side to get away from me. So I grab Evelyn. And that could have been a moment that becomes a bad experience where they get scared or something like that. But instead, I turned it into a positive of making it kind of a fun game of like, oh, wasn't that fun? Mommy caught you and snatched you off the horse. And she thought it was hilarious and ended up wanting to do it a couple more times on purpose, which was kind of fitting because it meant that we got to practice going on and off the horse and making it a better experience for the horse too. But the key learning here and takeaway, I think, is that we have the power to make experiences positive or negative based on how we respond to them. So somebody could have responded with, oh no, he's getting worried. Hurry up, get off. And that really tense anxiousness that would make Evelyn get really upset and really nervous. And instead, I just made it really fun and silly. So then it was time in the workshop to do the confidence building obstacle time. So Evelyn had a great time on the mattress there, and the horses played around with a few different obstacles and things that they were asked to walk over or go through, pick up strange looking things. We had all types of different things that everybody was playing with. And I wanted to share with you guys this really good example of the power of patience. And here was a horse that Angus, he was very internalizing his stress and kind of very anxious about it. So we've tied back some of the pieces of the curtain so it's not too overwhelming. And then I told Allison, just pull up a chair and have a seat and let's be patient and see how long it takes, because he knows what he's supposed to do. He knows what he's being asked to do. He just finds it really overwhelming. So let's not add any pressure. Let's just wait. And so in the beginning, he did a lot of looking, standing, and Allison got to just sit in a chair, which was pretty relaxing for her, not too intensive. And eventually, after a lot of waiting, Angus starts to think about going through the curtain and eventually through the curtain. And you can see him really start to think about things and start to process the information. And then he kind of scoots through a little bit, but not super dangerously or anything. And she just gets up. She's going to give him a cookie. And then she's going to go back and do it again and see if his confidence is going to be a little bit more. So after giving him a couple cookies, giving him a second to just think and relax and recognize that he did a really good job, then she turns him and goes to take him back over to the curtain again. So she's walking him back over. So I'll speed the footage up again. And in the beginning, she tried to see if he would just walk through with her after going through it the one time. And he basically was like, nope, not ready to do that. So she goes back to her chair. And then really interesting that he started to have a lot of really big releases. You can see him doing lots of big yawns, lots of really big licks and chews. So clearly lots of stress and tension, and him realizing now that the world's not going to end and he's not going to die, and releasing a lot of that. So this is a great example of a horse that could have been blown up, and this could have been a really potentially dangerous situation of rushing him and probably causing him to freak out. And instead, we turned it into something very relaxing for him, very peaceful for both of them, and ended up having success. So the next time, it definitely did not take as long. He had those big releases, and then it was pretty quickly after having those big releases that he actually goes through a lot slower, a lot more thinking, and really cool to see that after doing those big releases that he's able to go through really slowly like that, and just really showing how he was really using his thinking cap and coming out of that fight or flight response and instead being able to think his way through. And this is what I really try to encourage people, that rushing your horse to complete a task is not usually a good idea. They need encouragement for sure to try, but once they understand what they're supposed to do and they're just feeling overwhelmed, rushing them is not usually a good option because it teaches them to go too fast or potentially hurt themselves. And they can have kind of dangerous flighty responses because they're not totally in a thinking frame of mind. So it's really good if we can just slow down and teach our horses to stay in that thinking frame of mind, slow down, think, and just have that encouraging, positive attitude. Now, in this horse's circumstance, he was trying, he knew what he was supposed to do, he's looking intently, and then he didn't really need any encouragement. He knew what he was supposed to do. There you can see that got quieter and quieter, really thinking his way through. Some horses will stand at the other side of the tarp or the curtain or whatever it is you're asking them to do, and they'll just say, "Whoa, okay, well, I guess we don't have to do it." But in this horse's case, that wasn't happening. He was just not ready to go through yet. So there's no point adding any more pressure. And so that's just a really great example of using patience and taking the pressure completely off and letting the horse go when they are ready, after setting everything up for success and letting it be a realistic task for the horse. So then we wanted to repeat the task until he was super confident. So here she's asking him to turn and go through the curtain again. And he had a little bit of hesitation stopping. So we wanted to make sure we got him walking nice and forward. And here you can see he's hesitating again as he comes around. So I wanted to make sure that we repeated that enough times that he wasn't feeling the need to have those hesitations. And you can see when he went through, he rushed a little bit there. So Allison repeated it a few times with him, going nice and slowly each time until she could get to the place that he walked around the corner without hesitating, goes through without rushing at all, and ends on a super happy note. So that was a really busy day. Evelyn definitely passed out during the clinic, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching.